Good morning. It gives me great pleasure to call the fourth session of the 121st Annual Convention and Conference of the Maryland State Firemen's Association to order. At this time, I would invite Chaplain Harry Hetz to the stage for the invocation. Please stand.
Let us pray. Our Lord and our God, as we gather in convention, Father, we ask that you would continue to be with us throughout the day. Guide and direct our decisions. Guide and direct our activities. Continue to watch over us. Be with all those in fire and emergency services that protect our communities. Father, be with our armed forces and all those that protect our nation and our way of life. Reach out to those that need a measure of your comfort. Surround them with your mercy and your grace. Bring healing and touch those that are suffering on the bed of affliction. Father, we thank you for your mercy and your grace on all. Amen.
I would like to recognize Hobie Howe for the safety message.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning. I see a lot of people are awake. Fantastic. First, your Safety Committee would like to congratulate our presidents, Jackie Olson, Dave Keller III, and Johnny Roth for going into office. Okay, we're coming to a close. Some will continue through the week before leaving for home. Others will leave today or tomorrow. We hope that all of you will take time to be courteous to all that who may be driving or on the same roads as you. Be safe, arrive home alive for your own sake. Thanks for a wonderful, safe week from your Safety Committee. For all of you who are going golfing, the enthusiasts, we hope that your Fridays is sunny. Thank you very much.
We have a few announcements to make. The exhibits today will be open until 12 o'clock. The parade starts at 16th Street and will begin promptly at 1 p.m. The parade trophies will be given out at 5:30, and they will actually be in the building this year in Hall C on the first floor. Executive Committee meeting tomorrow will begin at 9 a.m. The MSFA Family Day at Splash Mountain at Jolly Rogers is being held Thursday and Friday. And of course, we're still looking for golf team members, and that will start at 7:30 on Friday at Eagles Landing. Is there any other announcements? I recognize Robin Sheldon Hahn.
Good morning to all. First, I would like to congratulate our newly elected officers of the MSFA, Jackie, Dave, and Johnny. Congratulations to all of you. I would like to thank the Hartford-Cecil Volunteer Firemen's Association, the Cecil County Firemen's Association, the Hartford County Fire and EMS Association, and all of you who voted and supported me yesterday in my quest to become the second Vice President of the MSFA. At this time, I would like to announce that for the year 2014, I will be a candidate for the office of Second Vice President of the Maryland State Firemen's Association. Pappy and I will be traveling this year to meet and greet a lot of you and to give you some of my qualifications and affiliations that I have done. I ask for your support and your vote at next year's convention. Thank you all so much.
One more announcement, if you have the time, could you please go over and sign the cards for the past presidents who couldn't be with us today? At this time, I recognize Roger Powell, past president, for reading of the resolutions and report of the Credentials and Resolutions Committee.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I have the resolutions for the convention for this year. The purpose of this report is to advise the delegates of what the resolutions are and who they're written for. And I am going to read the list of resolutions so that you can then determine if you want any specific resolution read or otherwise move that we do away with the reading of the resolutions. The resolutions this year are for the Singerly Fire Company, Ladies Auxiliary of the Singerly Fire Company, Ladies Auxiliary of the Maryland State Firemen's Association, Hartford Cecil Firemen's Association, Rick Meehan, Mayor of Ocean City, Town of Ocean City, Maryland, Ocean City Fire Department, Ocean City Fire Company, Governor Martin O'Malley, Cecil County Firemen's Association, Fire Marshal William Bill Barnard, and past President John Denver. Does anyone, any delegate, wish to have any resolution read? They will be printed in next year's proceedings book. Does anyone wish any resolution to be read? Jackie? I need a motion to do away with the reading of the resolutions.
At this time, I need a motion to do away with the reading of the resolutions. Have a motion? Second? All those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. At this time, I would like to introduce the Madam President of the Ladies Auxiliary to the Maryland State Firemen's Association, Carol Hayden. Can you please join me in a round of applause and a warm welcome for them as they enter to come up and be introduced. The podium is yours. Congratulations.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to introduce my officers. First, we have our first Vice President, Ann Price Davis. Our second Vice President, Darby Bird. Our Recording Secretary, Barbara Sue Nelson. Treasurer, Vivian Boyd. Financial Secretary, Nancy Jones. Corresponding Secretary, Marcia Roth. Chaplain, Lori Denbo. Vice Chaplain, Donna Strutz. Historian, Becky Wathen. Guard, Malia Dalton. Color bearer, Jean Main, I'm sorry. Also color bearer, Brenda Harrison. Bessie Marshall Chairman, Elaine Huttenlock. Conference co-chair is Joan Kramer. And conference co-chair, Danielle Thomas. And I thank you for letting us come over this morning.
Thank you, Madam President. I look forward to working with you all this year. Congratulations. Hey, there's some nice looking escorts over here, huh? I said, you got some nice looking escorts up here, huh, ladies? I said, look at this group of escorts. We have escorts, we have strippers. I'm telling you, we're just all around, right? Diverse. Morning, how are you? Thank you. At this time, it gives me great pleasure to introduce this morning's program's main speaker. The topic this morning is the impact and recovery from Superstorm Sandy. The program will discuss Superstorm Sandy was the deadliest and most destructive tropical cyclone of 2012. Atlantic hurricane season, as well as the second costliest hurricane in the United States history. Classified as the 18th named storm, 10th hurricane, and second major hurricane in this year, 2012. Sandy was a Category 2 storm off the coast of northeastern United States. The storm became the largest Atlantic hurricane on record, as measured by diameter, with winds spanning 1,100 miles. Preliminary estimates excess damage at nearly $75 billion. A total surpassed only by Hurricane Katrina. Lessons learned from the past chief of one of the many volunteer fire departments which were severely impacted by the efforts of this storm, not only directly as a fire department operations, but on his lifestyle and ability to provide for his community, particularly fire department families, and the continuing struggle to return to community service and life in general to the levels known before the storm. It gives me great pleasure at this time, and to also call him my friend, past chief of the Silverton Volunteer Fire Company No. 1 in Toms River, New Jersey, past chief Bob Sonnet.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Sorry, there's a little people stand up here that I guess I'm too big for. My name is Bob Sinnott. I'm a fire chief up in Silverton, Toms River, New Jersey, and it's an honor to come to your great state of Maryland. I've been here a couple times. This is the first time I've ever been to a fire conference convention, and it's definitely an amazing sight. You guys have your act together, and I'm proud to be here. With me today is Captain Mike Coco and firefighter Nick Osborne. They both had severe damage to their houses, along with working hand in hand with all of us and all the support we got during this storm. So I'd like to start off with, I have 2 videos we're going to play, and then I have PowerPoint, and then we'll go from there. So we can watch the videos. They're about 5-6 minutes long.
Idyllic beach setting into something locals wouldn't recognize. Dozens, hundreds of houses trashed, sand pushed hundreds of yards inland as the ocean crashed on through.
Take your time. We're waiting for you.
And on the mainland, relief at last for those who thought they'd ride out the storm on those islands. They and dozens of others before them rescued after a night of sheer terror.
It was total chaos over there. We had a complete breach over there. I don't think there was an area over there last night at all that was not covered by water.
And it looks like it's covered by sand as well.
There's a lot of sand. There's some sand dunes that are actually on Route 35. There's a house over on Route 35 that just floated right over there. There's cars everywhere.
Never seen it before. I mean, we actually watched dunes get wiped out, and it just went, watch the ocean come right down the street. And then pretty soon it went from, a couple inches high to 3 feet to 4 feet, and pretty soon it was impassable. As
the island's holdouts were brought to Toms River, the city had problems of its own. The tempest that was Sandy had downed hundreds of trees, and floodwaters trapped scores in their homes. One group at a time, they were brought to higher ground, leaving sodden homes but bringing memories of a savage night. Late into the day, the rescues continued for man and beast.
It was a long night. We got lucky. We didn't get any water in the house, and we just kind of held out till morning.
Did you think it'd be like this?
No.
Monday night's landfall left Tom's River awash, cars in water and boats on land. The picture much clearer today, although the water has dropped at least 2, perhaps 3 feet since we were here in the middle of last night. The boat's still on the road, and you see here more clearly the cars as well. And if we zoom down that Range Rover at the end, we spoke to the owner of that car who had a dramatic near miss.
You don't know because there's nobody around. You don't know where to go. You're trying to get out of a window. You're up to your neck in water. It's freezing. The wind is blowing. I got a dog. I got my mother. You don't know what's going to happen, really. You see your life pass.
Hours after her ordeal, Esther still visibly shaken.
You're in shock. Everybody's in shock. We never thought it was going to be this bad, ever.
The cleanup in Tom's River will take weeks, if not months. The barrier islands, much, much longer. Michael Holmes, CNN, Tom's River, New Jersey.
We have one more video, so give us 1 second. Yeah, 7 months ago.
Outside, we're here in the Toms River Communications Centre where all the police, first aid and fire calls are coming in. It has been extremely busy here today, as you might imagine. They're getting on for nearly 1,000 calls for assistance, some of them very serious. And we're going to go over here and talk to the Captain Steve Henry. I know you're busy. Let's just get from you a sense of what's going on out there now.
Currently, right now, we're answering our 1,000th call for the day. Our biggest concern right now is the people that didn't heed the governor's warning. We have several rescues in progress, or attempted rescues in progress, on the Barrier Island, the Ortley Beach section. We have a phone call from a lady that says she's trapped with her son in the attic of her home, and there's a natural gas leak. So we have assistance coming from our emergency management has been able to locate finally a couple deuce and a halves, and we're trying to launch a rescue operation with our local police and our local firefighters.
Captain Henry. If you have to break a hole in your roof to get out because the water's coming to your attic, you can do it. But I'm calling and checking on you every half an hour. Keep your phone on you.
And while you're doing that job, the frustrating thing must be that these people weren't meant to be there.
And it's very frustrating when these call takers, you can see when not to be overreactive and be more frustrated with, okay, now we're going to put our peoples in harm's way because you didn't heed to the warnings that were told.
What sort of things have you been covering today? This is obviously the serious end, but you've had, I was talking to you earlier, everything from drunk drivers to...
We've actually had a drunk driver arrest in the last several hours. Everything from, of course, trees down, powers down, multiple structure fires, accidents, of course, first aid calls. It doesn't stop.
Yeah.
People just don't want to realize that stay home, stay in place, and you'll be safe, and let the professionals do their job. Unfortunately, a lot of people are doing stupid human tricks.
And in your experience, this storm, how was it rate?
We've never encountered something like that. I was deployed down to Katrina, and it's bringing back some thoughts that we never thought we would do.
All right, Captain, thanks very much. So that's the Toms River Communications Centre. Obviously, a lot of activity here. We've been sitting in here for the last hour or so, and it's just been call after call after call. Outside, the storm continues to rage. In here, it's an inundation of a different kind. They are just flooded with calls for help. Michael Holmes, CNN, Toms River, New Jersey.
Those two quick short videos from CNN is only a little bit of the life that we experienced while we're there. The storm itself, we had 4 deaths. Since the storm, suicide, we've had about 6 or 7 because the emotional state of what you saw, what happened. Civilian, there's no firefighter deaths. We had a lot of firefighter injuries, from minor injuries to some severe lacerations, but luckily and thank God we had no one severely hurt or killed. On Monday, I had the honor of meeting the fire chief from Queensland, the borough commander, and we talked for a little bit, and his stories and my stories are the same, and I'm sure once you start going to seminars and stuff, we're all on the same page. It could happen if you guys could have been here. Ocean City is the same as my neighborhood, and you guys lucked out, and we weren't supposed to get it, and we got it. And so now we're building our pieces, and we're moving forward, and you have to think positive and move on. I have a quick slideshow. I'll go through some things, and we'll go from there. Just a quick demographics of my town. Toms River is the 7th largest town in New Jersey. We have about 150,000 people. Same type of scenario here at Ocean City. You have the coastal highway, your bridges, and then your mainland. Our mainland was worse than our coastal area because the surge came in and put water 4 to 5 miles in from the ocean where they've never seen water before. So that's a huge contribution that you have to think about as far as planning for stuff, because we're all looking east at the ocean, and behind us, we're losing houses and we're losing oceans and rivers. So our town's a pretty decent sized town, and we have the resources to handle it, but we were on overload, and without the support of other fire companies from far, far away and close, we would never survive. Just a rundown of emergency services for my town. We have 6 volunteer fire companies, 350 volunteers, a police force of 167 police officers, emergency management staff of 7 emergency management coordinators. Always have to think positive. That's a key thing. Now, as much as you get down, when you see what happens to your house, your neighbor's house, your friend's house, you have to think positive. This is one of my members to give it a thumbs up while he's out there rescuing 2 or 3 days after the storm. A quick timeline. We started planning for the storm several days before. Not planning for the eye of the storm to hit my town or hit Toms River and go up into New York City. So we were kind of on the northern swing of the storm. So we were kind of gearing towards that. And then once it got closer, we realized that the storm was actually going to come for us, and we got a direct hit into our Wortley Beach section. Once the storm hit, we kind of kicked it off saying we have a sports bubble. The sports bubble lost its air, and it blew out, and we had a couple house fires, and then once all the power started going out. So that's when we kind of kicked into it. This is a picture in the morning. We had a fire alarm like around 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. We went over to the boardwalk. The picture to the left is what the boardwalk looked like. That's the iconic roller coaster you see all the time. So that's in the morning before it collapsed. And to the right is just the guys that were on the engine crew. That's what a house looked like on the bayfront. The water came in. Some spots of the houses were 8 feet deep. Storm response, in the very beginning, we had information overload, but once the cell towers went underwater, and I don't know about you, but my whole entire life is on a cell phone, from emails to internet to contacts to phone numbers. Every cell tower went underwater, so we had no cell communication. So you can't survive 5 minutes, try going a week to week and a half with no cell phone. No, and that's a key thing, the cell phone. So how do you communicate with people? How do you get the word out? How do you talk to your community to advise them what's going on? To the left is a picture that's been on all the news. That's the roller coaster. And the picture to the right is what my house looks like. So that's my house to the right, and to the left is the roller coaster that you see. All the news, all about roller coasters, resorts, boardwalks, nothing about the local homes. And if you're wondering, that's the Jersey Shore house. We're famous for the Jersey Shore TV show. That survived. Everything around it got washed away, but the Jersey Shore house is perfectly fine. I guess that's how it is. Just a way to communicate. We, in my firehouse, we started to come up with ideas. We were handing out papers. We made photocopies of notes, what's going on, handed them out to the fire trucks that were in the different response areas and districts to get them out to our public. We used our signboards in front of the firehouse, and everything was word of mouth. That's our coastal highway, if you want to call it. It's our Route 35 in Seaside into Wortley. That's a pickup truck that somebody was trying to evacuate and a sinkhole occurred. And that's a typical street that you saw after the storm once the water resided. It's kind of hard to see with the dirt and the wires, but anything you can think of was there blocking your way and your path to do any type of rescues or firefighting. Some call stats. My volunteer fire department, we handle about 400 calls a year. For the storm, we did 3,000. Within those numbers, there was rescues, fires, people assists, so it's call overload. 7 months later, our call volume is still super high. We're still having house fires. We're still dealing with people maintenance, and we're still doing stuff like that. So the call volume is definitely, it's not a short term, this is a long term thing. And we're 7 months into it, and we're still trying to build the pieces and put things to work. We went to command boards. On the left is a board, marker board stuff. Morning meetings is on the right with the pictures. So every morning we're doing briefings so everybody's on the same page. Because we're dealing with our police department brought in, their New Jersey brought in police. We responded with the Louisiana State Police to call. So they don't know the area. So it was very interesting to see the type of response and the assistance that we got. Response concerns. All the manhole covers came up, so you had exposed manhole covers, you had downed wires, people using generators in their houses, backfeeding through the grids, causing the power lines to be alive. Holes, trees down, boats in streets, you name it, it could happen. Oil tanks that ruptured because of the pressure of the ground pushing them up. Sinkholes, we still have sinkholes today. The sinkholes are still coming. They're not going away. The FEMA and our Department of Transportation is working on fixing the roads, but today, if you go down that street, that's what you see. That's not fixed yet 7 months later. Search and rescue, as far as trying to find out, was that vehicle occupied? Was that, excuse me, was that car driving down the street when the storm came and washed them away? So there's a lot of tactical operational issues that you had to plan for to get ready to make sure there wasn't any life into that. That was our basic firefighting truck right there, a front end loader. It's the only thing that went through the storm. We had a police officer, a fireman ride the truck, and we put all our residents into the scooper of it and drove the truck out into the safe area. 4x4s or Army trucks, same thing. We started off with our little brush trucks and our small utility trucks, but you can only get so far because the water was so deep. This is at our firehouse. Once you got to the firehouse, we were offloading people into the firehouse hall. One big thing, and for me it was a learning curve, our emergency management center says we have a shelter that holds 350 people. If you do the math of a 100,000 resident town, 350 people is not going to hold 100,000 people. So everybody in my neighborhood, in my little short area of Silverton, all went into my firehouse, and for weeks my firehouse was the home of everybody, and we bonded very well. But they had no place to go for people because we didn't have enough shelters. On paper it looks great, in real life it's not. Just pictures of what the street looks like, the debris piles once the water started subsiding. This has been on the news also, you've seen this. This bridge is on the north of my neighborhood. It's the Manahawkin Bridge. That's where the inlet came through. If you look on the bottom of the picture, there used to be a state highway there, and now it's an inlet. And the bridge has houses next to it where the water actually pushed houses into the bayfront off their foundations. This is our first fire call from my neighborhood. We got dispatched to a house fire with entrapment, and a homeowner took his generator, put the generator inside the house to keep it out of the rain, and with the fumes inside the house flashed, he became burned. Fire suppression was on the way, and the surge came in. That truck is a total loss. All our firefighters of the burn victim had to be rescued by an Army truck and driven out of the scene because the water came in that fast. This house here, split in half, just to show you what the damage is, how construction is. You can kind of see in the middle that the house is split completely down the center of it. To the left is a boat that wasn't there that came across the bay. To the right is a crew in the lagoons. Actually, Nick up here is one of the guys that's in the boat doing rescues, going up and down the street with a jet ski pulling a kayak. Another interesting thing that I never thought about, once the water came up, you can't tell where the streets are and you can't tell where the lagoons are. So when you look down the picture to the left, is that a street or is that the waterways behind someone's house? And same thing with the right. So that's a huge thing. You're sending crews out there, you don't know where your crews are at until you start getting orientated with the area. And you can't use your cell phone for GPS because there's no cell towers. Here's a boat parked between two houses. That was definitely an obstacle as far as trying to see if somebody's in the house, if somebody's in the boat. This was Tuesday morning. Storm came in Monday, this is Tuesday. Storm waters are still there, still coming rising. We had 72 hours worth of water before it subsided down into the streets. To the right, that's a picture of the Louisiana State Police that was there patrolling with us. They brought their own cars that came to assist us. They were sworn in as New Jersey police officers. To the left is our engine company. We're just putting guys and crews on top of Army trucks or dump trucks just to get to go to calls. To the right is one of my members' houses. To the left is just a truck with a crew on it. Obstacles, that big blue boat that's there, that was across the street. So if you wanted to go down to the roadway, we had to move the boat out of the way. So manpower, timing of people, and crew status was a huge thing, trying to clear the obstacles out just to get to the street to get down to help people. Just showing you how we got off the truck and on the truck. Once the normalcy, if you want to call it that, kind of came back to life into November, into December, school went back into session. So the firehouse decided to go to football games and start getting involved in community events to build our stronger bond with our community. This is our members at a local high school football game. Can't forget about the snowstorm. November the 7th, we got snow dumped on us. It was a complete mess. Add on top of that, everybody's still in their houses. There's no power, there's no fuel, there's no gas, so everybody was doing campfires in the streets just to stay warm. This is my key picture. This is a picture of an Easton Fire Department engine, Little Mo. There's the Easton guys here. Drew, you want to stand up? My fire company, I grew up with Drew. Drew's born and raised in Silverton, and his father's a 37-year member. Information overload, lack of cell phones and emails. Andy said to me, Drew's father, well, I can have a crew come up, they can come out and help you. And I said, sure. Next thing I know, there's a fire truck at my firehouse from Easton, Maryland. The news people were there, and in the video of the people is Andy, Drew's father, getting interviewed, talking about how Drew, his brother Kurt, who's on my firehouse, and Andy bonded out. And here we have, 4 or 5 hours away, an engine coming to help us. And I think your first call was a working fire in a commercial building. Yeah, they were in the firehouse for a short time, and they went out to a commercial block cement factory fire. So it's amazing, and it's an honor, Drew. I thank you for coming up, and it's the support that you guys gave. People I didn't even know came out to help us out. Voting in the dark. All our school had no power. Everything was done by generator. So that's our elections, and the government doesn't stop the elections just like the mail. There's no mailbox in front of my house, but the mail truck that keeps driving down the street every day. Got to keep going, progress. So to the left is your voting in, and to the right is what the actual room looked like. They only had lights around the outside of the area, the voting booths. This is a house that's one of our North Jersey firefighters who comes down to a summer house. His house got destroyed, but the bar that he built survived. So this is a little break. This is our guys with his guys. We're having you need the mental breaks. So his bar's okay, but his house got destroyed. Ice, huge thing. FEMA says we'll get you stuff. American Red Cross says you'll get your stuff, but it takes forever to get there because it's the typical red tape of government, how things work and move on. We said yes to everything, so we wound up with tractor trailers full of ice, and then it's like, what do we do with the ice? So we started handing it out in the streets. The picture to the right is my guy standing on the road in front of our firehouse handing out ice to our residents. Worked very well. We bonded, something that we didn't have to do, but we did it, and that's what keeps our community going. To the left is the little car from the Seaside Boardwalk. That's 7 miles away from the boardwalk up on the beach. And to the right is just some debris pile. So the storm pushed stuff, some severe spots, and far, far away, that stuff you never believe where it would go to. Same thing again, just that engine's from North Jersey, just driving the streets on patrol. And that's one of the things that we did was there's no communications. No one can call 911. Everything was face-to-face, so we deployed area-wide commands into little developments and sections and put engines and ladders there for contact with the residents, and everything was face-to-face during the first 2 weeks of the storm. Traffic, everybody that was not affected by the storm from the other side of New Jersey and the world had to come see what happened. So you had the gawkers looking. Within that, you had the looters. So the traffic was a complete nightmare. But it wasn't from the people that are affected by the storm because their cars got washed away. Ty Pennington came, the Extreme Makeover. He stopped by our firehouse. That's him with us at the firehouse. He came to shed light and offer his goodwill. So everybody was in, from politician down to the local person to Drew from Easton to a movie star was stopping by the firehouse to help us out. These are the signs that were posted up in the neighborhood saying one way in, one way out, and we have guns. There was definitely martial law. There's people walking around the streets with guns. Thanksgiving, the New York Jets offered to send the fire department up to the American flag, so I had 2 or 3 guys go up to the Jets football game on Thanksgiving Day as a mental break to go up and do something positive. So our crew went out there and held the American flag at the beginning of the game. Holiday season, Christmas time, we set up Christmas trees, tell people Christmas trees. To the right is a helicopter. One of the local aviation companies donated a helicopter. We put Santa Claus up and he drove around the neighborhood. This is our annual Christmas party, and this is where I met your current president, Jackie Olson. Long conversations back and forth over phones, and your past president, John Denver, was also up to my firehouse. This is our councilwoman talking to them, thanking them for what they did, and at the end of the presentation here, I'll have a proclamation to give to them for everything that you guys did to Maryland for us. This is myself and another fire chief with the lieutenant governor. As far as the Division of Fire Safety in New Jersey and the government, absolutely amazing support they gave to the local volunteers. I have the lieutenant governor's cell phone number. I've talked to her before already about issues and stuff, and she's opened their arms up. Same thing with Governor Christie. Division of Fire Safety, their fire marshal's office, everybody worked very well. Personalities went aside to make everything happen to get through the storm that we had to do. Just some storm damage numbers. We lost 3 fire trucks, police cars, ambulances, 2 firehouses were damaged severely. 2 first aid squad buildings were completely destroyed, police substation, post office. Post office might not seem to be that critical, but when it's the holiday times, everybody wants to send Christmas cards and you have no post office, that was a severe hit to the community. So we had a lot of damage that we're still rebuilding. Our first aid squad buildings are still out of service. Firehouses are still working out of trailers. Our infrastructure, we had a gas-fed fire where it burnt down a community that was oceanfront, and the governor had to come into the gas company and order the gas lines to be turned off. By doing that, the gas lines are now condemned because they had to be hydrostatically tested. The whole community does not have gas now because of that, and it's still a big pile of rubble as you drive down along the oceanfront. And if it wasn't for the governor doing that, it would have free burned for months and days. We watched it for weeks. This is the current status of our waterways. Now, my neighborhood's a very big community. It's fishing, crabbing, but the waterways are still filled with oils, gases, slime, sludge. So that's a contributing factor you have to think about as far as what to look for the future. To the left is little lunches that were made by school kids handing out food to us, and the right was a thank you letter. So a list of all the fire departments from around the state that came out to help us in some way, some form, either be fire suppression or just a pat on the back and hey, heads up and how you doing. Without them, for my little community, I don't think we would have survived. Talking to the chief of FDNY on Monday, he said the same thing. You need to support, you can't say no. The departments that did say no, they're still struggling and surviving, and they're not as far advanced as the stages of redeveloping that we are. To the left of the fire, I was talking about the gas-fed fire. That's what we looked at for days. There's nothing you can do. You can't put it out because it's gas-fed. To the right is after the gas was turned off. So when it got dark at night, when there's no power, there's no lights, and there's no noise, and it's quiet, all you saw was a fire burning on the bay. That's a common sight today right now because the houses are still, because of insurance and FEMA, trying to unload their houses and rebuild their houses. So when you drive down the streets, you see everybody's personal property and furniture on their front lawn. That's 5 months ago from the storm. I'm sorry, 2 months ago. That's a house fire. No one's living on the streets because the streets are empty, so there's no one to report the fire. And with the power being turned on and the power grids, the fire gets well advanced into stages of being a fully involved house fire. So it was a 2 o'clock in the morning fire that we responded to. And that was 5 months after the storm. Every place had their signs. Sandy, you're not welcome. This is 6 months ago. I was actually pumping on this fire. We had a severe water problem because our infrastructure of our water mains are compromised. So now we're going to a drafting operation. And every day when the fire pager goes off for a call, it seems to be it's a house fire. We used to have just fire alarms or small incidents. Now every time you get a call, it's a multi-alarm fire call. Some more signs that people put onto the building about, you can take our building away, but you can't take our heart. Now, we came up with a slogan called Silverton Strong. One of our neighborhood graphic design people made up a whole bunch of stickers, and if your fire truck came to my firehouse, you were littered with Silverton Strong across the front of your windshield. Currently, Ferndale, Maryland, and Easton, Maryland, their trucks still have it on there, so it's an honor to say 7 months after the storm, our Silverton Strong is still coming with us. Rebuilding, we had a lot of rebuilding to do, and this is a magazine, New Jersey Fire magazine, and we talked about how you have to look forward, move forward, and think positive. You can't put the negatives with you. And we're moving forward, and I think my community is striving far advanced compared to other places. And that pretty much sums it up, picking up the pieces. But we couldn't pick up the pieces unless we had the help and support of everybody. This is a current day picture. I took this before I came down here. The house to the left is now a FEMA-required built height house for flooding. So my neighborhood has to have a 14-foot high elevation first floor house. The house to the left of it, the homeowner didn't have any insurance, so that's going to stay like that. So my neighborhood's going to have a little bay bungalow with a 4-story monster mansion house next to it. The house to the right, that's another house that's still standing that has no insurance. It'll be like that. Some more pictures of work trucks. The picture to the right is the entrance to an apartment complex that's still closed. This kind of sums it up also. Random acts of kindness. I didn't believe in a lot of things as far as random acts of kindness of people coming from far and near. It's amazing the support that you have, and you definitely need it, and you have to take it. Oops. Can you go back one slide? The bear on the left came from Baltimore County, Maryland, Girl Scout Post 4061 from the Brownies. They made his little prayer bears up with a little saying about squeeze me if you need it. The bears are distributed out to our members, and a little thing like that goes a far way when you have nothing. No, and it's kind of, you learn from yesterday, live today, and you look forward to moving to tomorrow to see what goes on. Last, we have a presentation to give to President Olson. Is she here?
Yeah, Drew's here too. You can introduce Drew.
Oh, I did that already.
No, but you can do that again.
Okay, yeah. Do you want to bring the other people up there or no?
Yes, they're behind us.
All right, I need anybody from Olson Wire Products, Maryland State Firemen's Association that was involved with this, and Ordell County Volunteer Firemen's Association, Ferndale Volunteer Fire Company, and Woodland.
Silverton strong.
That's right.
Proud to wear my shirt.
I see that. This is a proclamation that was done by our mayor and council for our town. Anybody else coming?
Yep, Bobby from Woodland.
Okay.
There he is.
Wow.
Voila, you're back.
That's okay. Whereas on Saturday, December 8th, 2012 was no ordinary Saturday in Toms River, but rather an historical event marked by the overwhelming joy and triumph, good cheer that will forever be etched in our hearts of every participant in Silverton Fire Company's annual Christmas celebration. Whereas the spirit of St. Nick arrived from Maryland at the firehouse doorstep, adorned with over 700 presents for children affected by this year's catastrophic Superstorm Sandy. Whereas all in attendance, the residents of Silverton, firemen near and far, were greatly touched and reduced to tears witnessing this abundant goodwill towards men. Whereas the Silverton section of Toms River Township wishes to proclaim their highest appreciation and heartfelt thanks to Olson Wire Products, the Maryland State Firemen's Association, and Ordell County Volunteer Firemen's Association, Ferndale Volunteer Fire Company, Woodland Beach Volunteer Fire Department. Hereby noted on this date, Silverton strong is a reality because of you. Thank you. I'm going to bring up the... Did you take a picture or no? Drew, can you come on up with your Easton guys too that were here? Oh, hi. What's up, buddy? You rest of your crew out here too?
Yeah, he wanted me to introduce him. So.
Okay.
Yeah, just real quick. They asked us to just take a moment and just share a minute or two of our experience while we were up there. But before I do that, I just want to say these guys, I don't know that you really realize what they've been through, their families. 27 members of their fire company had major damage to their homes. 12 of them lost their homes, and to this day, Bob's house and another guy, Pete, they're not in their homes. Their homes are still damaged. And They're living in lots of different places. So here we are 6, 7 months later, and they are still displaced. I've talked to some different people in Toms River. I've talked to fire commissioners and different people, and they can't say enough about what these guys, the members, and particularly Bob, how they stepped up to the plate under unbelievable circumstances and served their community despite living in a bunk and a cot in the firehouse. So you guys deserve a round of applause for what you've done. Just take a moment and introduce myself. My name is Drew Jensen. I'm a past chief in the Easton Fire Department in Easton, Maryland, and currently serve as chaplain there. But I'm also a past member of the Silverton Fire Company, where my dad and brother still serve. We got the call. I spoke to my family. Hey, do you need help? We'll come up. We'll make sandwiches. We'll serve coffee. And my dad talked to Bob, and they said, you know what, forget the coffee, forget the sandwiches, bring a truck and help us. We're tired, we're worn out, and we just can't go any further. We're just done. So on a Monday or Tuesday, I started putting the word out around our firehouse, and by Wednesday night, we had a truck, a van, and a trailer loaded up and head north into a nor'easter, into what we thought was going to be an inch or two of snow, and it wound up being a foot of snow. As we were driving through New Jersey across Route 70, there was a tree down across the road. Our crew, who you're going to meet in just a minute, had to cut through a tree even before we got there. While we were there, we had the opportunity to run a number of fires. I think we ran 18 or 19 fire calls. We unloaded tractor trailers of supplies. We sorted supplies, served meals with the American Red Cross. We drove around serving meals to people, driving around the community 9 days after the storm, and there were people still heating their garages and barbecuing neighborhoods. We'd show up at 9 or 10 o'clock at night in the dark with food. People would run out of the dark, grab the food, and run back into the dark. It was unbelievable. We helped cut trees. You name it, we did it while we were there in the 2 or 3 days that we were there. And the crew did a phenomenal job. I want to introduce them. I first want to introduce the chief from the last 2 years of Easton, Jamie McNeil, who was really supportive. Our mayor was supportive. This is Jamie McNeil, our past chief. Real supportive in sending us up there and encouraging us to go up there. The rest of the crew, Saul James, one of our lieutenants, Connor Satchel, Don Abatello, Daniel Kiewit, Adam Mayock, and that's it. We had different guys. Adam's a paramedic. Saul's great with electrical and cable, and each one of these guys brought a different, just a different aspect to the team, and we were able to do quite a few things and help out just a little bit compared to what you guys dealt with. It was our pleasure to be part of that.
Thanks, Drew. Thank you, guys.
Don't hesitate to call.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks. At least we're all cleaned up when you see us now. I'm not smelling dirty. Thanks. Take care. Yes, Mom.
Yes, Mom. Thanks. As you heard the stories, as we talked about, the Maryland State Firemen's Association, its officers and members at Christmas time did a food drive. We collected toys, and we went up to make, as the chief said, just trying to make a little bit of smiles to a lot of kids. It was very overwhelming to us as well. And Olson Wire Products actually tried to get in touch with a couple of firehouses up there, but we heard what Easton was doing, so we decided to adopt Silverton. And what we did is, through generous donations from businesses that work with Olson Wire Products, we were able to raise about $25,000 that we went shopping at Price Club and came up, I think it was the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and we made sure that we bring Thanksgiving dinners, because usually, as you guys haven't learned yet, they were the pillar of their community. Everybody depended on them. They shared holidays together with their communities, so it's just really nice to be able to provide them with turkey dinners and all, that they could still provide that service to their community. Like I said, if you look for, we all are the pillar of our community, but they just went above and beyond during this time. With me today is Chief Halen from the Woodland Beach Volunteer Fire Department, because he also helped out, but we'd like to present to the chief a shadow box that we put together. It actually is Silverton, Ferndale, and Woodland Beach, and our motto that we adopted up there was communities helping communities. And I hope during my presidency that we see a lot more of this, extending our hand out to other organizations in other states, as well as taking care of our own in our county. So another round of applause for them. Thank you. Also, on behalf of the MSFA, we have a resolution saying thank you for your presentation today, and a bag of goodies from our convention, and we're so glad that you guys could come and join our family. You're always welcome, and anything that we can do, don't hesitate to ask. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Back to the short people.
Thanks for coming. We appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Recognize Senator Roy Dyson.
At this time, I'd like to recognize Senator Roy Dyson. Yes, yes, he's coming up. He's coming up. The stool's back. It's Bill Barnard. Do you mind if I get Bill Barnard's here? Is he here? We'll find him.
Okay. Haven't seen you? Okay. All right. Good morning. I sort of watched that presentation. For a minute, I thought, you know, I just kind of walked in. Oh, is this Ocean City? All the rain we had yesterday. I'm very pleased to be here today. I have the, as Tip O'Neill used to say when the President of the United States would come and speak to the Congress, he would say, I have the high honor. Well, I have a high honor today to present a Senate resolution to Jacqueline M. Olson. I think Jackie's behind me. Yep. Why don't you come over here?
Right.
There you are. You want to stand up here with me?
Yeah. The thing's back.
Okay. This is the Senate resolution. It's number 1089, and it's to you. It's in recognition of being elected as president of the Maryland State Firemen's Association. We offer our congratulations to the first woman. God bless you.
Thank you.
There you go.
Did you get it?
Huh?
Oh, you have to move.
Get over here. Huh? Is he here? He's on his way. All right. I have another resolution here for the State Fire Marshal, and I've been told he's on his way. And talk like a politician, they said. You know, I do want to say one thing. We are, in Maryland, in my opinion, heavily indebted to all of you, and particularly to our volunteer service. In my area that I represent, except for the Navy base, all of our services are provided by volunteers. I know we have a few EMTs, but are provided by volunteers, and they do an extraordinary job. You know, when you come to Ocean City, Maryland,
from this point till probably after Labor Day, is the second largest city in Maryland. This city is provided their fire and rescue services by volunteers. And I don't think there's probably one city of this size in this country that's better served. And it's because of the volunteers. And I know they have some ups and downs with their council. If I can throw a political thought in there, I think that that's a mistake. If you remember about 2 or 3 years ago, I showed up at this event. I couldn't find a parking spot. I parked in the mayor's spot. I figured he wasn't going to get an invitation, so I figured that's an open parking spot. Are we ready back there? Okay. Now I have to get the hell out of Ocean City quickly before I get a ticket. I'm also pleased. He's here, I'm told. But anyway, I have a Senate resolution here for William Bill E. Barnard. As you know, he is our state fire marshal. There you are. How are you? Good. Our timing is just great today, isn't it? Anyway, this is a Senate recognition resolution from the Senate of Maryland. It's Senate Resolution number 1087, and it is signed by me, but it's also by the President and all the members of the Senate. And we recognize your retirement as the Maryland State Fire Marshal and offer our grateful appreciation for your 43 years of dedicated and exemplary service in Maryland's fire and rescue service. Congratulations. The entire membership extends best wishes on this occasion and directs this resolution be presented on this 18th day of June, 2013. You know, I don't know who's going to replace this guy, be he or she. I don't think they'll offer the kind of services that you have that'll ever match yours. You are just extraordinary, and we appreciate it. God bless you.
At this time, I'd like to recognize past President John Denver for his outgoing remarks.
Good morning. What an incredible year. I want to thank each and every one of you in this room and the volunteers across the state. We had a successful year because you did the work. You offered the help, the support, the advice, the friendship, the hospitality. The association moved it forward because of your work, and I can't thank you enough. You'll be in my heart forever. Please continue to work as you have in the future and continue to move the organization forward. Congratulations to Jackie, Dave, and Johnny. And one final thank you again to my family. Thank you.
We'll continue with the current remarks of the incoming president. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure and excitement that I stand before you tonight, this morning, as the president of the Maryland State Firemen's Association. I am humbled that you have elected me to lead this premier fire service organization. As I look around the room, I see in each of you a deep sense of pride in what you are achieving. It is truly inspiring and impressive. So I pledge to you to do my best to make your voices heard when it comes to issues, and I will always work towards finding a solution that benefits all of us. The volunteers of Maryland are truly the epitome of the definition of volunteer. You not only give of your time to help others, you give back to your community. And some of us make the greatest commitment. risking our lives to save the lives of others, and making the ultimate sacrifice. In my 20 or so years as a volunteer, whether it was joining the company as an administrative member or being a probie or a rookie in my first couple months, and as I achieved the rank of firefighter and EMT and also held many administrative office positions at my company, I have witnessed many acts of generosity and kindness on a monumental scale, from saving properties of life, raising money to help your community, or actually help you raise funds for a piece of apparatus, to help raise funds for an individual or maybe a community in need in your business in your community that's in need, to step up and take a position on the board, whether you had experience or not, but you knew you were the right person for the job. Just anything to help benefit your community and your company. Or you got up in the middle of the night with possibly no training just to make coffee and serve donuts to help us as the firefighters and first responders and EMTs after we've been on a long incident for several hours. I always say, and as Mark Brazier always said, don't wait until you make a difference in your community. If you have something to give it now. Not every day is going to offer us a chance to save someone's life, but every day it offers us a chance to affect one. Your talents are not too small or too simple, but our direction and goal is clear. It's a common vision that we all have, to serve our community to the best of our ability and to make a difference. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Chief Bayshore of the Prince George's County Fire Department to explain how we can all affect each other in certain ways and make a difference in our community.
Thank you, President Olson. After a particularly troubling fire we had in Prince George's County, where a father and 3 of his 4 young girls died in a home with no smoke alarm, I reached out to a local pastor and asked him if he could help us. His church had a population of over 10,000 folks. And he let me come in and he let me speak before the crowd about smoke alarms and talk about why we do what we do. That was videotaped, it went viral, and as part of that, Jackie called me and said, it really hit home, because truly, paid or volunteer, what we do isn't understood by a lot of folks. So she asked me to adapt that for here. I'm doing that, and I'm going to go ahead and read that for you now. And basically, it's an open letter to the communities we serve. Fire and EMS departments are part of our community. Young and old, men and women, your neighbors, sons, daughters, mothers, and fathers, it's who we are. Some ride fire trucks and ambulances, some work the books and bylaws, filling all the offices, doing all the administrative things that keeps the institution moving, and still others work in auxiliaries, making sure all the folks have food and drink to keep them going. Auxiliaries knowing they could be called at any minute to help raise money or to help bring refreshment to a gaggle of firefighters working a scene, heating or reheating meals, cleaning up unsipped drinks, and getting ready for the next one. It's what we do. Those fire trucks and ambulances may have been purchased with tax dollars, grants, or with money raised at a bake sale, car wash, or from a door-to-door campaign. No matter where, all those trucks, tools, and toys do no good without willing souls, whether paid or volunteer, to fill those seats. Those souls know that at any moment, the pager could sound, bells could go off, sirens could wail, signaling another all-night firefight, a minivan full with a local family over an embankment, a boat capsized, its occupants clinging to the hull waiting for us to rescue them. It's what we do. No matter the weather, awfully hot or freezing cold, dark and dreary in the eye of a hurricane, or clear and bright, windy, or as still as death itself, we are the ones you rely on. The faithful few, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. It's how we live and it's what we do. I wish you just once could experience the acrid smell of burning insulation, the foul taste of soot-filled mucus, the eeriness of being unable to see your hand in front of your face, or a host of other panic-inducing sensations my brethren and I have had to learn to instinctively overcome and control as we blindly search a smoke-filled bedroom for a trapped child at 3 in the morning, our palms and knees burning as we crawl, the floor sagging under our weight from the kitchen on fire beneath us, with only eerie silence filling the audible void that we so desperately wish could have been filled with the wail of a smoke alarm. It's what we do. I wish you would just once have to cope with a wife's horror at 6 in the morning as I check her husband of 40 years for a pulse and find none. My crew starts CPR right away, wishing we could bring him back, but knowing intuitively it's probably too late. Yet doing all we can because his wife and family deserve to know that everything possible is being done to try and save his life. It's what we do. I wish you could stand beside me just one time in the emergency room as a doctor pronounces the infant my crew has been pouring 110% of their skills into saving for the past 30 minutes, a child who we know will never say the words, "I love you, Mommy," again. I wish you could read my thoughts as we extricate an intoxicated teenager from the remains of her automobile, wondering, where are her parents? Wondering what will her family's reaction be when they answer the doorbell an hour from now to find a police officer at the door. It's what we do. I wish you could comprehend what it feels like to have a child tugging at your arm and asking, is Mommy going to be okay? Not being able to look in her eyes, not knowing how to answer her plea. I wish just one time in your life you had to comfort a lifelong friend who just saw his buddy having CPR performed on him as the medic unit pulls away. It's what we do. I wish for just one moment you could feel the frustration I experienced sitting in the officer's seat. My driver slamming hard on the brake pedal, my arm tugging hard on the air horn as someone fails to yield the right-of-way, knowing full well that should they ever need us, the first words out of their mouth will likely be, "What took you so long?" I wish for just one time you could know how it feels to walk in the house and greet my family, not looking forward to explaining that I almost didn't make it back from the last call. It's what we do. I wish you could experience just a tiny portion of the physical, emotional, and mental pain this body has had to overcome, or the skipped meals, the lost sleep, the missed social engagements, or just a fraction of the horrible and needless tragedy these eyes have seen. It's what we do. Hearing all this, I know you're probably wondering if I'm crazy for choosing this as my life's calling. However, for just one moment, I wish you could experience the camaraderie of my station, or the brotherhood of my crew, or the emotional reward of saving a life, or the personal satisfaction we gain from preserving someone's property, and the unbelievable rush of being able to bring calm to chaos. Unfortunately, unless you've lived the life we live every day, you will never completely understand or appreciate who we are, or that indeed, paid or volunteer, by the grace of God, it's what we do, it's who we are, it's how we live. I wish you really knew. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the things I always talk about is how diverse of an organization the Maryland State Firemen's Association is. Not even the black and white, but just the idea that we have administrative as well as auxiliary, firefighters, first responders, EMTs, and I just wanted to be able to bring a point. I just think Chief Bayshore just nails it when it comes to it's what we do. Hopefully a lot of people will start to recognize exactly what you all do every day, and on behalf of me and the officers and the members, we'd like to say thank you for what you do. So, and last but not least, I just wanted to congratulate President Denver. You know, it was a great friendship as we ascended through the chairs. As myself and Dave Keller, we have like little stories to tell. There was always laughter, always an adventure. And our three mottos would always be, we'd follow him anywhere. And John's last thing last night was that he just wanted to ride off into the sunset. I kind of like told him last night that the sunset and riding off into it is actually a symbol of a new beginning or a fresh start after the adventure is over. It is the end of a movie when the drifter has to move on. So we wish him best of luck as he has other paths to follow. He's not going very far. And we said happy trails to him. So thank you very much, and I look forward to working for you and with you this next year. If there's anything I can do, please don't hesitate to contact me. And at this time, I will recognize First Vice President Dave Keller for his remarks.
Thank you and good morning. I am honored to stand here today as your first Vice President of the Maryland State Firemen's Association President. President Olson, Vice President Roth, I look forward to working with you in the upcoming year. To my wife Vicki and son Davey, I want to thank you for your support and let me continue on this journey. I also need to thank my home company, the Citizens Truck Company, and also the support of the Junior Fire Company No. 2 and the Williamsport Fire and EMS Company. I also need to thank Charlie Abrake for his willingness to serve as my executive committee chairperson. Finally, I want to thank all of you, the members of the Maryland State Firemen's Association. You all have given me the opportunity to continue moving the fire service in Maryland to make it better and to continue the support that it needs as we travel through the state. So thanks again, and God bless.
At this time, I'd like to recognize Second Vice President Johnny Roth for his remarks.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm the new kid on the block, as they say. I come with no prepared statement except to thank everybody for all your votes. I'm certainly not going to be a stranger. I traveled to 22 out of 23 counties this year seeking the second vice president. I am certainly glad to help anybody that would like my assistance, give you advice, whatever I can do. If I don't have an answer, I'll look for it and try and help you as best I can. My phone numbers are in the book. I'm certainly very accessible, and I'm glad to be seeking or have sought the office, and will certainly try and do everything I possibly can to help this great association. Thank you very much for your confidence, and I look forward to working with you for the next 3 years plus. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to recognize past President Steve Cox for some remarks.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like past President John Denver and Anna Marie to come up, please. John, for months, I'm going to say 6 months or so, it started out, Russ Strickland and I were talking what we were going to do for you. Then Vic Costa joined in, and it's what are we going to do? We wanted to recognize you as our friend and the outstanding job you did. Then Sam Goldwater jumped in. We talked about presenting this Sunday night, and they were not able to make it then. Russ came down Monday. Sam was supposed to be here today, but got delayed, and Vic said he just couldn't be here. So I'm representing the four of us. But before we go any further, the four of us also, Anne Marie, have a little presentation for you. You spend too much time with him. Come on up.
It's a gift certificate for Vera Bradley. Thank you.
You're welcome. John, I think 100 emails went back and forth. What would we do for you? And we talked about the name, and we said, maybe with the name, a guitar. And I think it was Victor said, no way, and a unanimous from all of us. And then we looked at the picture at your last golfing outing, and we looked at the driver where the head of the driver was missing and just the driver itself in your bag. And I understand the driver went further than the ball. So we figured we would look into something that you could have, and maybe the head would stay on for you So on behalf of the four of us, I'd like to present this to you. You're making one hell of a mess up here.
I'm going to have more trouble hitting golf balls with this than I did with the driver, I'm afraid, but this is great. This is wonderful. Thank you very much.
At this time, I'd like to ask Secretary Doyle Cox for his remarks.
Good morning. Real quick, and I guess I'll take less time than I did Monday morning or Tuesday morning, whatever morning it was. I'm here to serve the association. The assistant secretaries are here also to serve. Need any help, contact us. Thank you.
At this time, I would like to introduce the chair of the executive committee, Mr. Dennis Skinner.
Thank you, Madam President. At this time, I would like to introduce the executive committee for the year 2013 and 2014. Myself, Dennis Skinner, will be chairman from Anne Arundel County. The vice chairman will be Charles Abrecht, representing Frederick and Washington County. Mark Bilger, representing Carroll and Howard County. John Gunto, representing Worcester, Wycomico, and Somerset, and I understand he may not be here with us today. Jim Seavey, representing Montgomery County. Richard Smith, representing Talbot and Dorchester County. Dan Stevens, representing Charles, St. Mary, and Culver County. John Denver, immediate past president. Doug Simpkins Jr., representing Baltimore County. Ben Kurtz, representing Hartford Cecil. Tim Dayton, representing Allegheny Garrett County. Michael Faust, representing Kent, Queen Anne's, and Caroline County. And Chuck Walker, representing Prince George's County. Let's give all these gentlemen a hand. Thank you.
I would like to call the following assistant secretaries, assistant financial secretaries, assistant treasurer, and chaplains, as well as the parliamentarian and the attorney to the stage. So as your name is called, please come on down. Our assistant secretaries this year will be Shirley Capato, Deanna, and I apologize, Gunther, Richard Hemphill, Nancy Scott, and Thomas Scott. Assistant Financial Secretary will be Bobby Aaron. Assistant Treasurer, Robert Jacobs, past president. Wally Donaldson. George Fred Cross, Jr., past president. Assistant Chaplains are Reverend Frederick Barr, Deacon Charles Barnhart, Rabbi Kenneth Block, Reverend Harry Hetz, Reverend Marvin Jackson, Deacon George LaRue, Calvin Pete Walbert, and Parliamentarian Chairman is Richard Brooks. The members are Ken Bush, William J. Wagner III, and our attorney, Michael Farlow. At this time, I'd like to introduce past President John Denver for the installing of these officers.
Congratulations to each of you, and thank you for stepping forward to take these leadership positions. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me using your name where I use mine. I, John Denver, do solemnly swear to uphold the Constitution and bylaws of the Maryland State Firemen's Association. I will perform the duties of my office to the best of my ability. I will keep and maintain all money, equipment, and records entrusted to my care and turn them over to my successor at the end of my term of office. So help me God. Congratulations. I declare you all sworn in.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Chief Chaplain John Long for his remarks.
Good morning. I'm proud to stand here with a full set of teeth this morning. The Chaplains Corps is always here to assist you. I want to put in a plug for the Maryland Last Team while I'm standing up here. Folks, we don't know if it will ever happen or where it will ever happen, but the Last Team is here to assist fire companies if it does happen, line of duty death. But before that, we want you to be prepared. So please call on us to come and do a presentation for your company to let you know what the benefits are and how to be prepared in case you do have a line of duty death. A line of duty death is not an easy thing to go through, and it makes it a lot easier if your company's prepared to have the forms filled out so beneficiaries can be given the proper benefits they deserve. So please call on the Last Team. We'll be glad to come out, do a presentation, let you know what the beneficiary forms are all about, and have a good convention. Thank you.
I would now ask Treasurer Ron Zarnecki to step to the podium. It's all about you.
Oh, wow. Well, good morning. And it looks like we're going to have another gorgeous day in Ocean City. We're going to try to keep things moving with the program and the weather. So hopefully you didn't get too wet last night. I'll tell you, it was pouring so bad that some of the roofs in part of the convention center were leaking up in the mezzanine level, but we got through that. So I'm going to do a couple of reports. The first, as your elected treasurer, I want to thank you for showing your support in what I have done as your treasurer for the past few years. I want to thank everyone that's helped the financial team to work through the fiscal issues of the association and to bring together a process where we have much better fiscal control over what's happening within the Maryland State Firemen's Association. Yesterday I did acknowledge that we are doing a lot of transition with the accounting process used by the Ladies Auxiliary. You may or may not know that we all function under one federal tax identification number relative to our federal status, and so one report is filed as a 990 for both organizations. So we're working to streamline that process with both our officers and the financial officers for the LAMSFA. So other than that, I know that there's been a little bit of change to the financial team. Bobby Aaron was sworn in this morning as Assistant Financial Secretary, and we welcome her to the team. She'll be working on fixed assets and controlling the major purchases that the association has relative to depreciable product. So anyway, I want to thank you for that. If there's any questions of anyone relative to the financial aspects, the financial team is operating out of the ticket office. If anyone has any payment requests or other elements related to expenses for the convention, please get them down to us. We are trying to cut all the checks that we can before we leave Ocean City and get those handed out either today or tomorrow at the executive committee meeting. So that concludes the treasurer's report. They've asked me to go right into a convention committee report, and I have a couple of things that I'd like to talk about. First of all, over at the registration table and down at the information desk are evaluation forms. We really would like to get feedback from each of you on how well the convention was presented this year. There are a lot of new things that occurred relative to programming, seminars, hands-on training, layout of the building, food, other elements, and so we really appreciate your feedback. So the survey forms are at registration, the survey forms are at the information desk, and the survey forms are over in the East Hall where the ladies are meeting. Also, as a reminder, a new member benefit this year is a special discount at Splash Mountain. There are cards that were in. Sorry. There are cards that were in all of the packets when you registered. There were cards given away in D Hall, and there are some cards left back at the registration table as well. It's a pretty neat deal. For $20 a person, you can attend the activities at Splash Mountain all day Thursday and all day Friday. It's a $40, if I'm not mistaken, a $40 value at half price for the Maryland State Firemen's Association and the LAMSFA. But you do need the card. There's a special barcode on here to get the discount, and you can pick them up back at registration. Speaking of Jolly Roger, the Monday night event hit a banner mark. We were over the 2,000 mark for attendance. For any of you that were there, people were lining up at 5:30 for a 6:30 event. And we actually opened the doors for the food at 6. We opened up a half an hour earlier, and the park allowed us to let people going in at 6:30, which was a half an hour earlier than what the ticket had said. So we're going to work with Jolly Roger. I have a meeting with them this afternoon to try and figure out if we can tweak those hours a little earlier. But I'll be candid, we're trying not to draw people away from the convention center because we need people to go to the exhibit halls and to attend the committee meetings and visit the committee booths and spend time here as they jockey their schedules for the entire week. But we hit the 2,000 mark in attendance, and one of the things we're probably going to need to do, if you were there, we did get a few people that were complaining about the long line to get wristbands although it was moving fairly quickly, for those of you that were there and went through that, we'll probably double the number of wristband stations for next year. Who would have thunk, but it's a great piece. I think I said this yesterday, but if I didn't, our memorial service numbers were the largest ever. 1,753 people were here for the memorial service on Sunday night, and as you could tell, the room was packed. I am really concerned about what we're going to do next year with the construction and the number of seats we'll be able to put into this room. I have a 1 o'clock meeting today with the convention center to discuss the construction project. We had to put MIFRE and MIMS on notice that their booths will probably not be in that front hallway next year. That's going to be a major issue for those of us that are looking for certifications and training records, and to be able to work with those two agencies. All of where the state agencies were and Safe Kids were this year are going to have to be moved, because the other piece with this construction is we're going to lose 5 of our major classrooms. The 2 classrooms on the second floor that are on this end of the building, and the 3 classrooms on the first floor will also be affected by the construction. So that's going to really put a cramp on our ability to offer quality seminars. So I don't have any answers yet. We need to get some floor plans and some diagrams of how the construction is going to be phased out. But what we have been told is that they intend to start removing this floor, concrete floor, behind this wall where the officers' banquet was and where the picnic was yesterday, where the prayer breakfast was this morning, this fall. They're going to take the cement precast floor out and start the construction on the Performing Arts Center, which also means that all of our food events, we won't have the room for the food events. So I just am not sure where all that's going to go yet. So I'm kind of do this whole full disclosure now to everybody that's out there. But either way, the convention has gone fairly well. I would be remiss if I didn't thank the committee that makes all this happen, the Convention Steering Committee. They are all listed in the program book, and of course the entire Convention Committee. There are hundreds of people who work really all year long to pull together the aspects of this caliber of convention. And with my job with the foundation, I go to a lot of conventions and trade shows. And I talk to each one of those organizations that run them, and they can't believe that the caliber of our convention and the majority of the work is done in-house. We don't contract out exhibit services. We don't contract out creating the program book. We don't contract out audiovisual. We don't contract out scheduling and seminars. We do with all of our own members. Now, I know that can be tiresome and that can be a drain from time to time, but what that does is that really helps us to produce the net funds and the caliber of the convention we have to be able to do other programs and services, such as offering free hands-on training that you would pay $300 to get at FDIC. Same instructors, same course. You can come to Maryland and get it for free. So those are the kind of member benefits that we want to try to give back to the organizations that are a part of the MSFA. The other group that I have to thank is all those little worker bees that have been running behind the scenes. We call ourselves kind of the go team. It's the ones that do the cameras and the stage and putting things on the chairs and keeping people in line for the events. And so I know there's some behind the curtain. I'd ask them to come out, please, all of the go team. And then the other group is the food committee that's been feeding and addressing elements related to our nourishment. They have been working out of the 15th Street Firehouse, and so I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the entire food committee that's been keeping the water, the sodas, and the other things moving around. So somewhere back there is a go team, maybe. They're all going. They're all going? That's what the curtain just said. Well, we need to give them a round of applause. I appreciate what they do and those efforts. And I appreciate the departments that have anteed up to help us deliver some of the programs and other elements. So that is the conclusion of my two reports, unless behind the curtain, Richard, anything else? No, we're good. We're good, thank you. Have a great day, everybody. See you at the parade, see you at the executive committee tomorrow, and see you at golf.
At this time, I'd like to recognize Jeff Thompson, Board of Trustees.
Thank you, Madam President. I would just like to take a moment to thank the officers and the members of the Chestertown Volunteer Fire Company for their support in my effort to run for Board of Trustee. I'd like to thank Mr. Phil Herlock for his nomination and Mr. Bill Hildebrand for the second. I would also like to thank all the county associations that I've been able to visit for their hospitality and their support. And if I haven't made your county association meeting, I promise I will get around to you. And I also look forward to working with the other trustees. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their week and has a safe trip home. Thank you.
At this time, I call on past President John Denver.
I'd just quickly like to acknowledge those departments that sponsored the executive committee meetings for me. Your hospitality was tremendous. I do have a resolution for each of those. So if there's someone from Kent Island, Walkersville, and Flintstone, I'd like to present you with the certificate. I'll take the one for Singerly back myself. So is there someone here from Kent Island, Walkersville, or Flintstone? Okay, I'll get them out. I'll make sure they're delivered. Thank you very much.
At this time, I'd like to introduce First Sergeant Keith Runk of the Maryland State Police to do the main program presentation on Run, Hide, Fight, personal choices during active shooter incidents. Can we have a round of applause? Please welcome.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here today. First off, I want to thank you all for the work that you do. Most of your volunteers, there's paid and volunteer mix, but you don't hear thank you enough, and I thank you and your families for your dedication and sacrifice to serving the people of Maryland as we do with the state police. So thank you guys. Before we start, I know a lot of you guys have been partaking in the nighttime events. Some of you have been to Secrets. Raise your hands, anybody? The owner of Secret asked me to show this short video. We're trying to identify this individual, so I want to get this official business out of the way first. Chris, if you could just hit that for me, please. Hopefully it works. I'm not an IT guy. All right, the crickets are sounding. Not coming up? I hate when that happens. Nothing? Tell you what, don't worry about it. we can just get the presentation up, that'll work. That's why I'm a policeman and not a comedian. Hey, while they're trying to get that up, I'll just give you a little background on myself. I've been with the state police for 27 and a half years. I've been in special operations for 23 of those 27 and a half, and 12 and a half of those I was a commander of our SWAT team. And that's kind of what has brought me here today. My main thrust right now is active shooter response, whether it's with our academy level, our in-service. I'm dealing a lot now with the school systems, both from lower grades up through the higher education system, teaching them how to respond to these incidents and what they can do before this incident happens and when it happens. The God's honest truth is most of these incidents are over before we ever get there. And it's what you guys do before we get there in those first few minutes that really predict the outcome. And our whole goal is to minimize the loss of life. We know it's going to happen. I was asked by Ken Bush from the State Fire Marshal's Office to come here and do this presentation strictly for a fire department response. And what I found is that there are no protocols for you guys. You know, you guys are used to going to these mass casualty incidents. We do drills for it, but nobody specifically has said an active shooter. What do you do if you become the victims? And we saw this happen in Webster, New York. I've been involved in a barricade situation where a guy set a house on fire and held the fire department at gunpoint. And then we had the Georgia incident where 5 firemen were held hostage. So I looked at it from a law enforcement perspective and said, you know, what is it that we can do for you guys to help you recognize this situation? Hey, Chris, if it doesn't come up, I'll just keep talking. I'm good. Don't even worry about it. We're good. I'll just keep flowing. I got the slideshow in my head here, so we're good. I've taught it enough, so I have a good idea what I need to do. But there was nothing for you guys out there that really helped you respond. So in my dealings with a couple of the different companies and so forth, and what we teach our regular in-service academy level troopers how to respond to an incident is what I want to get out to you guys. First off and foremost, the key failure is that lack of communication. We don't communicate enough. There's a breakdown between law enforcement and fire department on occasions that contribute to this. You guys have your protocols, we have ours, but we have got to change our thinking. We've got to change the way we approach these situations. And it's not just a law enforcement response. This is a community response. It's a first responder response. It's everybody that has a seat at the table. And we've got to work together. There are changes that are coming about in law enforcement. We change our tactics constantly because we have to keep up with these people that are committing these crimes. And as we change, you guys have to change. One of the things I found out, I met with Chief Schwartz from Arlington, Virginia, and he gave me the protocols that they've had in place for a number of years. And it's a rescue task force is what they call it. And it is now putting the paramedics and the first responders in that hot zone where you would typically stage and wait for law enforcement to clear a scene. They're beyond that. They're well ahead of the curve. He has told me that this is going to be a national protocol in the EMS side of the house as well as the fire side. They still stay with the NIMS or ICS system. However, they are putting their medics in ballistic protection, helmets, and vests. They're going in with a pack that they can treat up to 14 victims. Now, Columbine caused law enforcement to change our tactics. Those officers in Columbine did exactly what they were trained to do, just as you do. Your protocols right now, for the most part, are to stage and to wait for law enforcement. We have to change that in these incidents. We are losing too many people. We are losing too many people because we have to wait for first aid. And some of that is because there's a breakdown in our communication, our role. You have to understand our role. We have to understand yours so we can work together and accomplish the main goal, which is to save lives and get these people out. I understand that you guys don't want to come into a building with a gunman. I totally understand that. You guys call me crazy because I love it. If there's a guy with a gun in a building, I want him. That's what I love doing. And I look at you and call you guys crazy because you're going in a building with fire. So there's a mutual respect, but our job is to get in. Our job is to end this problem. But we're also realizing that we don't have time to treat the injured right away. And now we've got to change. We're going to be changing our tactics. So we've got to change it to incorporate that mutual response. But that's going to cause you guys to rethink your programs. And that's the biggest thing is we're all afraid of change. But unfortunately, the way we think nowadays about our lives have changed. And all we have to do is look at recent events. Aurora, Colorado, Sandy Hook, just last week or 2 weeks ago in Santa Monica, the Boston Marathon. We're on the front lines. You're on the front lines. You're right in the middle of it. But we need to be aware of what's going on. My goal today is to try to give you some alternatives to protect yourself. Look at this situation a little bit different. This medical protocol was one of the first things that's going to be coming out. I don't know when that's going to be rolled out. You can get in touch with me. I have the protocols, the policies, and the articles that the chief has given me, and he's allowed me to pass them on. So you don't have to reinvent that wheel. But it is a hell of an idea, and it's a hell of a successful program, and I think it will work for us. We now just have to adapt assigning 2 members to your medics for protection. They call it the warm zone. You will go in under protection. Instead of our guys are going to still be going in to solve this problem, but we will now allocate 2 people for this rescue task force. Your guys have ballistic armor. They go in. They're protected. They will be in a warm zone. This area will be initially cleared, but you're still in the middle of that hot zone where we don't like to be. But our goal for that rescue task force is to minimize the loss of life, minimize injury, and get these people out. You will be afforded that protection, but it's going to require a change in your thought process, just like Columbine forced us to change our tactics. So look for that to come out. I don't know exactly when he wants to roll this out, but I would say within the next few months. I know he said the 3 top unions in the fire department have bought off on it, so I would look to see that. They're running classes on this program, but again, I'll be happy to forward the policies and program to you guys. As far as the fire department response, what we looked at, and I did a class Sunday, and it went very well. I'm trying to condense a 2-hour presentation into about another 15 minutes. What I want to give you is food for thought. We call it situational awareness. As you're pulling up to the scene, you guys have a lot of things on your mind. You're looking at the structure, you're looking how involved it is, the color of the smoke, how much flame, where the hydrants are, and probably a whole list of stuff that I haven't covered. But what we're asking you to do now is to be a little bit more alert because of the circumstances. If it's happening elsewhere in the United States, it's going to happen to you. We don't pick the time that fight comes to us. But we can sure as hell pick when we end it. And we can sure as hell minimize our loss of life. Our world, your world, revolves around training and being prepared. This is just one more facet of it. We're asking you guys to look for the obvious, things that are out of place. Look at the people. Look for things that just don't belong when you're walking around, whether you're off duty or on duty. As you're pulling up to the scene, what's out of place? Is there somebody there that just doesn't have the right dress? He's got a backpack on. We all know to look for that arsonist in the crowd taking the pictures. Well, this is the same concept. In Webster, New York, this guy used the terrain to hide himself. He was in a low-lying area, a gully, and he started ambushing. In Georgia, one of the key mistakes that I was told was that they had an engine and a medic, which is a normal response, but all 5 personnel went up into the room. Nobody stayed down. So now they're all captured. So as I looked at these incidents and I'm thinking about what we can do for you guys to protect you and how you can keep yourself out of position, we're all aware of where we stand. We call it 360 positioning and communication. If we don't have one of those 3 in our tactics, then we're down. We've got to have 360 degrees of movement. We got to have 360 degrees of coverage. You guys need to look at that in the same light. As you're approaching the building, where do you have to park? Can you position your vehicle at an angle to provide you cover? That engine provides you guys a lot of cover. You've got the hose bed that is very ballistically sound. Most of them have between a 3 and I guess a 700-gallon tank, if that's correct, of water. So if you get on that back bed, and I had pictures of guys hiding below that line. That's going to stop a lot of rounds. That's going to buy you time for us to get there. That may be the difference between you guys being a victim and being able to survive the incident. That vehicle provides you the cover and concealment, depending on where you are on that vehicle. Use the tires. Be behind the tires. They will stop a lot, especially at the rear. If you are on the opposite side, that engine is between you and the target. You have 4 tires and that water tank to go through. That's going to provide you a hell of a lot of cover and protection until we get there. It gives you time. Just by positioning the vehicle and being alert. And I don't know what your protocols are now as far as how you have to pull up. I know you have to look for the hydrants, get the lines charged and hooked up. But we have to be ready for that thing to come when we're not expecting it. If you start taking fire and you have that hose in your hand, use that stream to knock this guy down. Make him shoot through a wall of water. Most people are not going to be able to put up with that. That's a lot of pressure. And these are things that I just thought of. I don't know if you guys have thought about this, but we need to, because you guys are under attack just as we are. So look at these different options. What do you have available to you to protect you, buy you time to get you help? So just by looking at the scene a little differently and add a different aspect to it, it could mean the difference between you guys surviving or getting injured. It allows you to do your job a little bit better. It allows you to do it a little bit safer. With going into the building from a medic standpoint, where do you position yourself in that room? When you park that truck, when you park the engine, what is between that engine and your target that will provide you cover? We not only have to think about, hey, where we are when we pull up, but what happens if between me getting off the engine or the piece of equipment and going to the target, something happens, something jumps off. What is available to me that I can get behind that will provide me either cover or concealment and get me out of harm's way? When I'm in the building and I'm treating somebody, where do I sit in the room? I don't want to block myself in. I want to leave myself an out. That's part of that 360. I've got to be alert to what's around me, 360 degrees, but I also have to have as much of that 360 degrees of movement, because sometimes the best thing to do is get the hell out. And that's true in our world and your world. Chief Schwartz gave me a good comment, and it carries over in law enforcement and fire department world. Save a lot, risk a lot. Save a little, risk a little. Save nothing, risk nothing. And that's all we're asking you to do is think of these things in that concept. Don't put yourself in harm's way unnecessarily. We all know that, hey, our job, we may have to sacrifice. But let's not do it just because. Let's make that the last resort. So there are the things that I've thought about, just positioning in the room, pieces of equipment. I've had the fortune to get a partnership with Hardwire LLC. It's an armor company. They have government contracts. They're outfitting military vehicles with armor. And I came down, a good friend of mine, Lieutenant Del Baker, who is with the Ocean City Fire Department, hooked me up with Captain Peterson, who is the training officer for Ocean City. And I brought Scott Kendall from Hardwire with me. And we looked at your equipment. I looked at it from a point of where you could get cover and what would protect you. And then we started looking at your equipment. How can we make equipment that serves dual role? It provides you the service that it was originally made for, whether it's a backboard. Just tell them I'm busy. I'll get them in 1 second. And it provides that ballistic protection. And it's a useful tool. So we started looking at things that you guys have available to you. We talk about use of force and protecting yourself. You guys are a rolling buffet of entry tools and implements of death. And I say that realistically. You have an axe, you have the Halligans, you have the saws, you have the jaws of life. You have all these tools at your side that fit in, that are typical. Nobody's going to draw any attention to it. That's your course of business. That's the tools of your trade. But guess what? If you're in that situation in Georgia and that guy's coming after you, he's holding you hostage, you think he really cares about your health and well-being? You have an absolute right to defend yourself. Now, some of the discussion that we had the other day was on the use of force policies. We're bound by our use of force policy. I don't know that that would apply in your world. You would have to run that by your legal counsel. But you do have an absolute right to protect yourself, and you have the equipment with you to do it. It's just, are you alert enough to think about it when it hits the fan? You're prepared on one aspect to deal with that fire and all the changes there. Unfortunately, circumstances and incidents have caused us to have to kind of rethink the way we deal with incidents. So know what you have available. Know what resources you have and use them. Scott and I and Captain Peterson looked at the trucks. Some of them had the roll-down shades in the back of the engine. They can make that a ballistic shade. It gives you an extra layer of cover, and it rolls up. It's self-contained. It doesn't get in the way. That's just one thing that we came up with, the backboard. We found out that the Reeves stretcher that you guys use, and I have a prototype of one that was made that is ballistic protection. These are tools of the trade. They blend in. You use them. They serve a dual purpose. This will do the same thing that Reeves will do, but the Reeves will not give you that ballistic protection you need. This is what's going to save you, your husbands, your wives, your kids, the people we serve. If a Georgia or a Webster, New York happens to you in your little community. Nobody ever thought Sandy Hook would have happened. Nobody thought Columbine would have happened. But they continue to happen day in and day out. And we see it every single day. All you have to do is watch the news, and there's another incident. It's just a matter of time of when it's going to hit us. And we have to be prepared for it. And we have to change what we're doing. We've got to change our business, but we don't have to broadcast it. That piece of equipment could be the difference between you and your fellow coworkers, your family at work, going home at night, depending on what piece of equipment you want. Hardwire is phenomenal. I've got a great relationship with them. They're here today with me. They will fabricate whatever you want. Their big key, I guess, item now besides the military armoring are the ballistic whiteboards. They have the clipboards, they have whiteboards, they have boards that they custom make for doors that they're putting in the school systems to save our kids and save our teachers. It provides them that level of protection. It allows them, if they decide that they want to get out, that they have a barrier to get out. Using that concept is how we came up with some of the ideas that we have today. You guys in the fire world are famous for the whiteboards. You have them that pull out. You build them into your trucks. All we're saying is make that removable. Make it where it hangs on the door, so if you open that door, you've got ballistic protection. You've got something that covers you from getting shot. Buys you time. It gives us time to get there before you guys get hurt. And it also allows you to get the hell out of danger with some level of protection. And all it takes is just changing our thought process and changing that policy and the training to do it. It's not hard training. It's very, very easy. But it's just a matter of what we want to do to protect ourselves and the people we serve. And I felt that this was a good option. It's something that it's not just a piece of ballistic armor. It is a piece of equipment that you guys currently use. But it serves a dual purpose. So that's kind of where we're going with this. You know, the biggest thing is that we've got to do this together. And that's probably the hardest part. We work together on a lot of different incidents, but we've never had to really work jointly like we're going to have to when this happens. Together we can do it and make it very successful. It's not a hard change. I'll show you this wreaths that they made up and just give you an idea how it's used real quick. It does, okay. Oh, I got the 2-minute warning. Hey, look, I got a badge and a gun. I think I can stay as long as I want. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. And I got 4,000 firemen that'll back me right now. This is your wreath stretcher. Looks normal. It blends in. It's a piece of equipment you guys use, but we can use it as a shield. If I'm in a room or I'm outside and I'm carrying this, all I have to do is unroll it. They put 2 handles so we know what side faces out. But it also provides us an easy measure. I can line people up behind me and exit a building or exit an area and get out. I can protect us removing injured people. If we have multiple guys that have to get out. It's not ideal, but it will protect you. Let me just put this down. It'll protect you because now I can just carry it. I can have 3 guys carrying it. We're talking about protecting your vital area. It's harder to hit a moving target. I would much rather be shot in my legs than my computer. Or in my torso. I want something between me and that target. This little piece of equipment provides that protection for you. It's better than having nothing. It's better than what you have now. And with the people from Hardwire, if you guys have ideas, things that you can use to incorporate this technology with your equipment, they will work with you and they will develop it. And it's relatively cheap. We buy all kinds of equipment to save lives and protect people. How much is one life worth? How much is your partner worth? You've all been to firemen's funerals. We've been to policemen's funerals. That is the saddest thing to attend. So I ask you to start putting a price on life, because there's really a price. Ocean City was so instrumental in helping us develop and give us ideas for this system. This first prototype was developed and presented to the Ocean City Fire Department and their EMS section for their use. This is the first ballistic stretcher that was made by Hardwire to be presented to the Chief Department. Hey, I appreciate your time. I know you guys got a busy schedule. Thank you for listening to the story and how we did this. I hope you take one thing from this that it says somebody's life is saved yours. Hopefully you don't have to know, but hopefully it's something you can get in touch with me. I'm with the Maryland State Police. I'm assigned to training and education. My email address is keith.russell@maryland.gov. If I can help you out with anything, please contact me. I'll be glad to help you. If you want to come up and get my information after this talk, I'll be right down here with lane 4. With the hardwire representative with their information for use. Just email me, and I will send you this protocol that we're acting, rescue task force.
Ken, at this time, we'd like to present you with a resolution to thank you for coming down and giving us that wonderful presentation, as well as a goodie bag from our convention from the Maryland State. Again, thank you again.
Thank you.
Oh, we gotta. It's like paparazzi now.
Thank you.
There we go. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Thank you very much for your help. Just call for any unfinished business 3 times.
At this time, I'll call for any unfinished business.
Once. Again.
Unfinished business, 2 times. Any unfinished business, 3 times. At this time, I'll start new business. At this time, I need to recognize Mitch Bach, the financial secretary.
I'd like to make a motion that the association pays all expenses and expenditures and invoices for this convention of the MSFA.
I need a second for the motion. I have a second by Buddy Schreer. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any more new business? 3 times? New business? At this time, I'd like to introduce Lou for the Ways and Means $10,000 raffle. Get your tickets out. And assisting with our raffle drawing is Danny Crane, who is MSFA, Ms. Fire Prevention Ambassador. And Christy Green is the first runner-up ambassador for MSFA.
Good morning, everybody. Another year has passed, and we worked our, what you call it, off. I don't have a gun or a badge, but I'm going to take some of your time. President Olson and officers, members of the MSFA and LA MSFA, the 2013 raffle was conducted from June 2013 till now, June 2013. 12 to 13, and we totaled, and it's close, we still got money coming in, we put in a total of $58,826. $2,600 and some more than last year. And the reason for that was we had a fantastic Spring Fest and we had a fantastic Sun Fest. We froze our butts off, but we did good. We did good. So far, as of today, the counter sales totaled out at $7,031. Even though we were almost about 6 feet from being in the Assawoman Bay, we still did pretty good. The Ladies Auxiliary turned in, and they always do fantastic. They turned in $13,770. And Harford County, again, was the leader. We turned in $25,614. And I'll challenge any county again to try to come anywhere near close to that. But we never do. So we're going to be quick here because everybody's interested in who won, and we're going to try to get this thing done. I'd like to bring up on the stage the people that did 99.9% of the work. Buddy and Luann Swears, Mitch and Darlene Voke, John and Betty Byrne, Chris and WW and Susan, we all know who they are. Ruth and Joe Tolliver, Myrna Sunderland, Alan Thompson and Shirley Thompson from Darlington, Ron Solid from Bel Air, Jim Bear from Jarrettsville, and Jeff Guyman. This guy does all the lifting, all the hard work. Here he is right there. He's the one that, he's the guy that got the barrel up here, right. Let's see. As always, we would like to thank the Ladies Auxiliary for their help, the MSFA people that turned in their money for their help, and tickets are already here for the next year's raffle. So anybody that needs them, we have them to give out at the executive meeting tomorrow. We will be giving them out. All the executive committee members will get their share. The members will, the president, vice president, so on and so forth, will get their share, so we can start the sales for next year. That's all really I have to say. We're going to make the drawings now. The queens will make the drawings and see who won the money. Watch your arms when you reach in there. They will get scarred up. Oh, I forgot Linda and Jim Younger, I'm sorry. And yesterday at the Ladies Auxiliary, I forgot to mention Anna, and she hit me right behind the head.
So Jim can hit you behind the head?
Jim can hit me behind the head, yeah.
Where's Jim and Linda?
They're right there.
Coming up?
Susan, you need to come up here too, because without you, I don't know what we'd have done. Okay, do we have a name? Oh, my goodness gracious sakes. The winner of the $10,000 is a fire and rescue department. See what happens when you sell your chances and turn them in? Friendsville Volunteer Fire and Rescue Department from Friendsville, Maryland. All of you that didn't sell your chances, see what might have happened if you did. Our next prize winner is Mance McCall III. Phone number 443-235-0959.
That's
$2,500. Mance, are you here? If you were, you'd be screaming and hollering. I guess you're not. The third place winner, James Duffy, 443-235-6489. James, are you here?
That was
$1,500. The Queens are telling me if they're not here, draw another one. I don't think we can do that. Whoa. Look at this, another fire department. Imagine that. Greenbelt Volunteer Fire Department, Greenbelt, Maryland. I think they must be here. They won $1,000. Is that Big Shirley's company? Oh, I get $500 back from that then, right, Shirley? $750 winner is, oh my God, Dave Caldwell, 410-642-2506. One of your guys? Cecil County person. $500 winner. B. Blakely, 410-658-4341. No takers on that one. Draw another one. No, we can't keep that. The people you see standing up here on the stage have worked the Harford County Fair, the Chesapeake City Canal Days, Sunfest, Springfest, the Darlington Apple Festival, plus anything we had in between. The next winner we have is Kay Richardson, 240-342-0821. And these people spent hours, hours. The Sunfest and the Springfest alone, we're on that parking lot at the inlet from 8 in the morning till 10 at night. And most of the time, the weather's not very good. $100 winner. Joe Henry, Henry, from Forest Court, 301-321-8924. Another $100 winner is Susan Lehman, Leman, 443-980-0474. And last but not least is Carol, Seranin, it looks like, 443-336-6108. Okay, that concludes the raffle for 2012-2013. And thanks for all those that did help. And this year we're going to start off with a bang, I hope, and break that record. Thank you very much. I told him.
Where's the president? Since you're here, here's your first 10. 10? Just start. We're going to start the raffle right now. Here's the first 10 tickets, 0001 through 10. Here is represented to the president.
Thank you.
Yeah, of which 500 more will be added during the year.
Thank you. Please support this well-worth cause. As you can see, many of the fire companies, as well as individuals, there's a good chance. I'm waiting for you to tell me. At this time, I'd like to recognize Chaplain Barnhart for the benediction. Pray for us.
Rise, let's go. Rise, let's go.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we give you thanks for this convention. And as we leave this place and we enjoy the parade this afternoon, we ask you to grant us good weather. And as we fellowship one with another here, we ask you to be with all of us. Father, we ask you to be with those fire people and auxiliary members who are ill and could not be here for this convention. We ask you to grant them health, grant them strength, and grant them comfort. And we ask you to be with our new officers as they take on the tasks of leading this association. We ask you to grant them safe travel as they visit around this great state. And we give thanks for you, the volunteers of this great state. And as you travel back to your own departments to do the work that we've been instructed to do, we grant safe travel from here back to their homes. And we ask your blessing to be upon us until we meet again. And now may the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the communion of the Holy Spirit be with you all. Amen. You need a motion?
Go ahead.
Madam President, I make a motion that this convention be adjourned.
Your second?
Second by Ben Kurtz.
All those in favor? Any opposed? The 121st Annual Convention and Conference is closed. Please be safe and enjoy the rest of your convention.
Just once. Once is enough. 3 begins.